to Shoptalk Cle, Cleveland Literacy efforts, and I am Shawn Literacy. Today, I'm here. Lisa McGuthry will join us later in the show. But I'm here with Mr. Donny Singleton, and we're going to finish up where we left off last week. He was sharing his story with literacy. His story with literacy here in the city of Cleveland, but not only with his journey and story of literacy here in the city of Cleveland, but how that all helped him to shape to become the man who he is today. So welcome, Mr. Singleton, as I call you. Welcome back to Shoptalk Cle.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming back. Not only just coming back, but allowing us just a little bit more time, because I feel like we had to hurry up and rush and tell your story, and I didn't feel like you had an opportunity to be able to really share and come to an end at how your journey went. So if you want to, last week, he just shared with us not only his journey through growing up in the inner city, but what that looked like for him in high school, and then some choices that he made later on in life and where those choices landed him at it. But then I wanted to bring him back so he can share who he is today. So everybody has a path. We all are ex something. But who is Mr. Singleton today? So that's our talk today. He's going to kind of recap where we were last week, but he's going to share with us who he is today and how that journey helped him. Welcome back. Hey, Mr. Singleton.
Hey, glad to be back. Glad to be back. So to continue from where I was at, where I left off last week, and also to explain who I am today. I left off with me pretty much about to get parole. And so yeah, like I had said last week, the education played a huge role, because not only did it show that I was learned, it showed that I had the focus to actually get the 2 degrees while in prison. And in the end, I was released before the age of 40. And I thought that was pretty cool, because I had to work towards it. One of the big things that brings us here today, and how I actually ended up meeting TMZ in the hood, is sponsored. One of the things is through Books for Bruises. It's a gentleman who actually created this Books for Bruises, who came up with the concept of just pretty much how when a little kid grow up, how they go through emotional issues, trauma, physical trauma, and sometimes kids can grow up and they can have this type of trauma and have these types of bruises, but you don't see it because it's all internal. And I remember for years, his name is Lewis Fields, he's incarcerated right now, but we would like literally sit down. We have over, 1, 2, 3, I once said, I counted it. We have over 4,000 hours of just straight communicating, and this took years. And while he was coming up with Books for Bruises, even then he thought that after I got my degree that I was a good example of someone who pretty much, you could say, exchanged the bruises for books. And after I ended up getting paroled, he kept working towards what he was working at, and he know that what my aspirations are and how I really want to be able to tell this story about how kids who grow up and they go through all types of different traumas, how it's true, you can exchange bruises for books, which is how I met her.
And that's where I wanted to plug in. I noticed like a couple times you said it was at a pivot, or it was at a point when you noticed with your literacy how it made a difference. And not only how it made a difference, but now as an adult, just how now you have a love for reading. Why do you think you have a love for reading today?
I can honestly say one of the big things is because I know that reading changed my life. It changed the entire trajectory of my life. A good example is I'm a full-time employee, right? So some people who come home from prison, it's an adjustment, especially when you've never had a job, you've been gone for over 2 decades. It's hard to get a job. But just through education and me just continuously working while I was in prison, I got out in February. I had no driver's license, I had nothing. I went home, and I obviously through reading set up a bank account, got a savings and a checking account, and I went to maybe 3 or 4 job interviews, and then one of them, because I felt like I was smart, I wanted a white collar job, because I had pretty much put it in my head like, okay, I don't want to do no labor. It's not that I have anything to do against labor, it's just I was in prison, so throughout this time I never developed the role of just manual labor. So the places that I put in my job applications to was all white collar places. and I actually got a job. And the job that I actually got, it consists of my education. It's not directly in the field of communications, but had I not educated myself, I don't even have this job. So that's how
Now, I got another question. What made you want to further educate yourself in prison?
Honestly, when I sometimes, like, once a person gets older, it may sound weird, but sometimes a person have to step outside themselves and really, really look at themselves and see, why did I do this? Because sometimes we make decisions and we justify them. But it's like I was telling you off camera, I used to always think about my brother, because it was like no excuses. Like, I truly used to be like, well, if this person didn't have a father in the house, or this person went through this is how their life is gonna be. So my life is like your life. But then when I really sat back, I'm like, this dude went through everything I went through, and he's successful right now. So I think early on, I just started reading books, because I had to come to the conclusion, like, man, there's no excuses. I just gotta apply myself.
Okay, so then that leads me to my next question. What was your yellow light bulb? What was your it moment? What was your aha moment? What was your...
As far as when I finally picked up a book?
Or when you picked up a book, or when you knew that literacy or education was going to be your path?
You know what? This may sound real weird, but my first actual real deal book, it was on social etiquettes. So I've been in jail for a violent act, obviously. And when I was in prison, I got, like I stated last week, my first prison, I got sent to this place called Lebanon, and people had been doing time for 10, 15, 20 years, and it was real dangerous. And I remember I didn't know how to talk to people. So I was like, dang, I don't know how to talk to people. And I easily recognized I wasn't scared to fight. I was in jail for a fight, so it had nothing to do with that. I just didn't want to fight anymore. And for myself, based off what it is that happened, I told myself I'm never gonna fight again. So I had to learn how to talk. So I started, because my mom did a great job of raising me and stuff, and I learned a lot of stuff, but outside of the household, it was some stuff I had to learn. And I had to learn respect, and I learned respect pretty much by, like, reading, just always saying thank you. I used to read books of the proper way of sitting in a seat. And it's so weird, because, you know, years later, I started facilitating programs, and involved in this was the proper way of speaking, the proper way of going again, sitting in a chair.
So your aha moment was reading the book on adequacy?
Yeah.
Okay, so then from the book of adequacy, it began to show you
just how to go farther in life, I guess, because like, if you can't talk to people, people are not gonna take you serious.
Okay.
And that would kind of like originally sparked me to start reading. And then I had another situation years later that took me to a higher level. All of my friends, like, I'm real deep into politics, real deep. All of my friends, they always talking about the presidential election. They was talking about just politics, and I remember I couldn't keep up. So that stirred me into, okay, I gotta start reading. So I started from the beginning, reading about American history before the Civil War. And then once I started reading that, because I had to start somewhere. And so really every part of my life, I started reading books on it. So I think I may have told you last week, since I wasn't in a relationship and I wanted to understand it better, I started reading just magazines like Jets and Ebony magazines and stuff like that. So really, and that's how I am even to this day. I believe I get smarter when I read.
Well, right now we're going to work on some things that we're going to work over the holidays with getting fathers involved, getting men involved, showcasing that men read too. We're working on some t-shirts.
And boys read.
And boys do read. Yes, they do. Hey. But creating a buzz around reading. For some of us, unfortunately, because prison is a place where it's a still place and a quiet place, you get in that quiet place and you know, it's also, first time, safer. But it's a place where you can read. What I'm trying to teach the boys is don't get to jail, or don't get to be on lockdown, or don't have to get to that quiet place before it's a place where you're introduced to reading. And that's how we get into the school to prison pipeline. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we come back from break. Stay tuned. Shoptalk Cle. back to Shoptalk Cle. I am Shawn Literacy. My co-host, Dr. Lisa McGuthry, she's joining us right back from the break. And then we have a special guest, Mr. Donny Singleton. He was sharing with us not only his journey, literacy and education, but what is his turn, what that turn looks like, and who he is today. Hey, Mr. Singleton.
Hello again.
Welcome back, welcome back. So, right before the break, he was just sharing with us. But one of the things here in Cuyahoga County, it says 66% of Clevelanders function in literacy. 66% of Clevelanders function in literacy. What we want to do is not only hone in on that 66%, but talk to the parents, talk to the grandparents, talk to the fathers, talk to the single mothers, and then be able to place with resources where we can wrap it around them. Like currently, if we know of any adults who wants one-on-one tutor, who wants to become a stronger reader, we can turn them on to Seeds of Literacy. Right now, Lisa has various programs that's running right here through the boutique to help people pay their rent or help them pay their back utilities because of COVID. So then it's not about, okay, we have free books, but how can we help that family become stronger, illiterate, literacy, and then whatever resources they need to become a stronger family. So welcome back. This is what we do. But let's finish up on your story before we get out. And right before the break, you was just sharing with us how you looked up to your brother and how you watched your brother's journey. But I just want to ask you a question. Why was your brother's journey so important to you?
Well, believe it or not, this may sound weird too. Once I started learning about the structure of the DNA of why we are the way that we are, and I realized since we have the same mother and father, I understood the closeness of us, of the DNA. And the first thing that made me think, it sounds awful, but he started losing his hair. And I remember I was like, that come next. And I remember with that realization, I didn't like it. And I was just like, man, I can't believe I'm next. And it was just tripping me out, right? And I kept asking, like, am I losing my hair? They were like, no, Donny, you're okay. Well, the reason that was real important to me is because whenever I talk, people used to say, Donny, your voice, when I talk to my family on the phone, they say, Donny, you talk just like Brian. Or they come visit me, the way I sit, they might be like, you sit like Brian. So I had to realize, like, dang, I had got a tattoo. And when I got a tattoo, when I finally seen him, because he's only 3 years older than me, and we were born in the same month, like 8 days apart. But I remember I got a tattoo of Aries.
Front door.
And I realized he had the exact same one, and we did not communicate about this. So once I started contrasting and comparing, I was just like, dang. So I was letting the hair thing throw me off a little bit. I said, we are just like.
It's okay. It's
so,
okay.
But once I took that consideration, I was just like, dang. Because I was starting to like books anyways. But then I realized like books really took him to a higher level. And then I just started focusing him. But I didn't know today that we would have such a great, because I didn't even know if I was going to go home. I visioned going home, but since I didn't have an out date, a release date, it was hard to see myself hanging with him, like in society. And I just know it came to a point that I don't think he paid attention to my journey. But once I got the bachelor's degree, it was almost like he came to visit me. I just got it in 2019. That's what it was. I got my bachelor's degree in 2019.
Wow.
He came to visit me. And he hadn't seen me face to face maybe in like 3 or 4 or 5 years somewhere. And I remember we was talking. We never talked about that, but through natural conversation, he was like, "You ready to be released now?"
Wow.
And I was like, "You think so?" But yeah. So once I realized that we did share a lot of characteristics, it started to dawn on me that maybe it is some education. Like I don't know if I shared it last week, but he's a doctor, but he went to the military and he used the military to further his education to do what he do now. So I just think like throughout the course of my time, I realized that the proof is in the pudding. So he proved that it worked. That's a remedy. And I knew that me and him had a newfound respect for each other. I've always respected him, but I didn't recognize I respected him because I was so caught up in my own little world. But after I got before I got paroled, he actually came and he was visiting me. And throughout conversation, that's when he told me like, man, you're gonna be going home this time. And I remember I was like, why you say that? And he was like, because there's some stuff you just have to go through in life to get you where you need to be in order for you to go home, and you're gonna be going home. And he had been referring to just me educating myself, because that's the only thing that I pretty much
And sometimes it's about the journey and the process. And as we begin to wrap up, I'm gonna let Lisa share with us just some time about the journey and the process, and how it's not easy, but how the outcome is always great.
So it's not always easy. You know, things can happen in your life that can sometimes throw you off the path that you've set for yourself. My brother and sister passed in 2010 and 2011. So with me being the oldest child, I was left to fend for not only my 3 daughters, my husband and I, but 3 additional children. And I promised them they wouldn't fall through the cracks. I would not allow them to just be children that we didn't take care of. So my brother had 1 son, my sister, she had a son and a daughter. And we've taken them all under my wing. And just as my children, we sent them away to college to get degrees. We have 1 left that's in college. But we're doing everything they need to do to follow along just as my children would. And so no matter what happens, you can still get back up and stay focused. And that's why your story is so meaningful. And that people need to hear that. Because I think some people think once you get hit, you're just down. And it's not that.
Yeah, and can I add something? And I think like, when you want to lift someone up, right? I believe like it's important to target what do this little boy. Let's say it starts with the youth, right? Whether this kid is in whatever type of household, even if he's just in a foster home, right, or kinsmanship. You ask a kid, a little boy or a little girl, what do you like? Just what do you like? And then what happens is you just listen to him. So now once you start to like challenge this kid and be like, well, I'm gonna give you this book right here. I want you to learn everything you can about this. And when I see you such and such, I want you to tell me everything. With the understanding that this kid is about the age where they can at least read. And if they can't read, we want to be able to provide resources for the kid to read. But I just think like once we start, y'all already obviously do it, but once you target kids on what they like, that one thing, it'll blossom to something else. So going back to my story, I was so curious about stuff, I would have to read a certain book that would lead me to another book, all on the same topic, until I was ready to move on. And then that's how I would just touch, and that's going with my faith in God. I had to say, all right, I want to know about God. I love God.
Yes.
So, because I used to pray, and I used to be like wondering if something happened, was it a coincidence or was it my prayer that made it get done? But through studying and just with my Christian faith, I had to understand like anything that's in the Bible that God promised you, if you pray for it, you can get it. So that was something that I had to just learn. So that was something else that I had to target. You know what I'm saying?
Another part of your journey. And I know we're gonna get ready to wrap up here, but a lot of what we want to talk about and a lot of the importance of what we talk about is just that reading 20 minutes a day. How it makes a difference in a child's life. Not only does it make a difference in a child's life for their vocabulary, it makes a difference in a child's life when they get ready for testing.
Yes.
And when they get ready for testing because you made them read out loud 20 minutes a day, or just because you made them read, period, 20 minutes a day, you see a difference in their language, in their reading arts assessments, automatically. Another thing you do, you see their vocabulary and their speech begin to grow. So it's just not enough that me and Lisa say, okay, we got free books. Okay, read to your kids. But why do you need to read to the children? And then we have statistics that say there's something called the school to prison pipeline, but not only the school to prison pipeline, but the preschool to prison pipeline. So then Lisa and I invite James Singleton, our guest before Donny Singleton, onto the show, so they can share with you their journey. So everybody didn't just graduate, go to school, go to college, get a job. But then we bring some people onto the show to show you they went through another journey. But why education was the key for them that made a difference. Why education was that turning point, and why education was the key factor for them even as adults here today. I want to thank you for tuning in to Shoptalk Cle. I am Shawn Literacy. You can follow me on literacyinthehood.com, Literacy in the Hood on Facebook, as well as Twitter. Lisa, let them know how they can reach you.
You can reach me, Lisa McGuthry at Our Favorite Things Boutique, or info at ourfavoritethings.cle.com, or www.ourfavoritethings.cle.com.
If you need books or snacks, as long as the boutique is open, you can just Google Our Favorite Things Boutique. You can pick them up right here. You can call 216-469-2646. Let them know, Mrs. Singleton, how they can reach you if they just want to hear more of your story or follow you.
Okay.
I'm pretty low key, so I'm just on Facebook. So.
And you can also call the boutique at 1-800-975-0731. We're open daily, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Thanks for tuning in, Shoptalk Cle. I'm Shawn Literacy. That's Dr. Lisa McGuthry. This is our guest today, Dr. Okay, so I've spoken to Dr. Singleton, Mr. Donny Singleton. Thanks, guys. Welcome for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I love you.